Hi everyone, welcome to the video. This week we are doing 5 ways to end an academic lecture. Hey, if you're new to the channel, welcome to our academic space here on YouTube. My name is Caroline, I'm a university physics lecturer. And today it's a requested video from the comments, so thank you so much for the suggestion. And it's all about ways to end your lecture. If you're looking for how to start your lecture, I did a top 5 ways or suggested ideas in a previous video, which I'll pop a link to now. But hey, watch this one first about how to end a lecture. And then if you're interested, maybe jump back and see how to possibly start your lecture. Number 1, and I think this is quite popular with students, maybe it's a STEM subject method, so science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Maybe it works, I don't know, easier in those classes. But a nice thing to do is to end your lecture with a worked exam question for the students to see. So maybe I've given a lecture all about torque and angular momentum, and then to help the students kind of understand the concepts and what's needed, I might end my lecture by showing a worked exam question. I think this is nice for the students because they get a feel of what they need to be able to do and understand for an examination. And also I think it's sometimes quite nice to see these physics ideas in practice. You can talk about ideas and kind of concepts and theorems, but sometimes, I know when I was a student, seeing the lecturer, the professor, actually put numbers into the equations and actually work through a problem from start to finish can be really useful. So way number 1 to end your class is with a worked exam question. In at number 2 is sometimes I will end my lecture with a fun video or a demonstration. I will use these as well in the start and the middle of my class, but sometimes if we've done a hard derivation, I will try to show a fun video or maybe a demonstration of how that equation or principle comes across in like the everyday world or kind of real life, just to try to bring that idea, I guess, to life in front of the students a little bit, and to make it memorable. You know, if I've talked about a particular equation I've derived or something, actually seeing that equation in action through a funny video or through me trying to do something at the front of the lecture theatre, I think can make it more memorable for the class, which means it's easier potentially for people to recall that information when they need to later on. So yeah, demonstrations or fun videos are another way that I might sometimes end class. Also really useful if students have got lots of classes or lectures back to back, because it gives you like a decompression period at the end of your lecture. So it almost gives the students, a few minutes to kind of relax and to kind of unwind from one lecture class before the next lecture starts. Number 3 is that I think more and more often we are trying to encourage and motivate our students to look at materials outside of the lecture theatre. There's various techniques. One of them is a flipped classroom, where you actually give material for people to look at before they come to your class, so you can then kind of take off further into the topic that you were going to teach. And I can definitely do a future video about these different methods and kind of ways we try to engage with students before class. But one of the ways you can do it is by ending your lecture with a question or a challenge to be completed or attempted before the start of your next class. Obviously, this doesn't work if you've got classes potentially that are very close together in time. So sometimes I'll have a lecture on Monday and a lecture on Tuesday. And if it's the same class, I won't end the Monday lecture with a challenge question because they've only got Monday night. They might have something else happening on Monday night rather than doing my physics problems. But if I've got a class on Tuesday and I won't see the students again for that class until the following Monday, then that's a good time to set a challenge question or, some kind of theory or idea that I want them to read up on before they come to the next class. Quite often I'll combine this maybe with that kind of a fun video. So I'll show something and then I'll ask a question about what we've just seen. And some students will engage with it and they will come to your next class having worked something out or emailed you with something. Obviously other students won't engage with that material, But it's a different way of ending your lecture, and I think can be really useful for students who do want to connect and think more about the material in between your classes. I think number 4 is another popular one with the students, and that's to end with a summary and maybe some form of summary quiz. I know it's popular when I give classes. I think that students find it quite helpful at the end of the lecture to have a summary of the information that you covered. Again, I'll be interested to know how you do this in your classes, whether there's different subjects and we try this approach slightly differently. In physics, sometimes I will put up like an end slide or an end kind of sheet that has the key equations highlighted and the key ideas highlighted that we covered in the last hour. Sometimes I'll do a quiz, sometimes it will be an interactive quiz where they can kind of vote for things on their mobile phones. Just some way of, in a kind of fun way, bringing together all the information that we'd covered in that class and giving the students like a summary sheet to be able to walk out of that lecture with of the key important points. And in at number 5, another way I like to end class is with a personal story. Again, this is a good one if you've got classes back to back and you know the students are going to have a heavy teaching day, because it kind of, again, is a way of relaxing that class before they go on to their next one. But sometimes I'll bring out a personal story, so something that happened in kind of my research or connected to the material. You know, I've had various things happen, which again I can talk about, but just making that subject connected and human-like, I think, can make it a really nice way of remembering the material. And often I will try to highlight an important figure, either current or in the past, that's connected with the topic that I've just been teaching. I think sometimes if you know about the faces or the characters behind the kind of the ideas, the theorems, the concepts, again, it can help really bring it to life. And some of the amazing scientists and physicists have done brilliant things, and some of them have done things that have been either interesting or dubious, or we would now challenge. And I like to kind of highlight that for the students so they get a feeling of not only what we're trying to learn, the equations and the maths, but also how it came about, you know, how these equations landed in our textbook and why we are trying to learn them. But let me know, you know, are my 5 ways of ending a lecture that I've just said very kind of science or maths orientated? Do you use a different way when you end your lectures? I would love to know. As always, the comments are brilliant, so please keep them coming in, and I will try to make videos related to your comments wherever possible. As always, if you're new to the channel, do think about hitting subscribe. It's a free space here on YouTube where we talk all things academic every Monday at 10 o'clock. If you're after an academic t-shirt, I'll pop a link below to my little academic store. All sorts of fun t-shirts to celebrate moments and career stages in the life of an academic. So from student to professor. So I'll leave a link to that. In the meantime, have an awesome week. Stay safe, and I will see you next Monday for another academic video. Bye.